Hey everyone, and welcome to Beyond the Model, a podcast for AI professionals and experts around the world. I'm today's host, Josh Howlett, and in this episode, I've had the pleasure of speaking with Vlad Pavlov, who is the Senior Director of AI and Software Engineering at PMG. Welcome, Vlad.
Thank you. Hi, everyone.
So yeah, we've got a really important topic in today's tech society, with artificial intelligence and, being the leader at a company. I'm really keen to sort of dive into your thoughts on it and how it's affecting not only your company, but other companies, and not just that, but also the average consumer in today's sort of world. So really keen to dive into the topic on that. I know that you also host some startups, meetings and events in and around the West Coast at your place and in offices and whatnot. So I know you've been sort of liaising with some of the other market leaders in the AI space. So I'm really keen to take some of that knowledge from you and learn a little bit more about it on that front. Could you share a little bit about your background and your
Yeah,
professional journey so far?
absolutely. And as I said, thank you so much for inviting me here. And I didn't actually start originally in the AI field. I am a software engineer who spent over 20 years in the industry. I co-founded 3 startups. I was with mid-sized guys. I was with large companies, Intel, Microsoft. But it was always kind of traditional software engineering type of teams and type of products. But about, say, 7 or 5 years back, I became very interested with AI, and initially it was basically a hobby, and I started participating in data science competitions, won a few medals there, started playing with different tools, etc., etc., and eventually it became basically the main focus of my activities. I'm still engaged with the software, and I guess we'll talk later today. The team that I'm leading is developing the software a package for marketing professionals. But the way we are doing it, we are integrating AI on all levels.
Okay, cool. No, I appreciate that. And to be honest, that's sort of what I wanted to know a little bit more about you in terms of what is PMG and what is the role that you play at the business. I'm keen to know a little bit more.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting question, because I believe my version is going to be a little bit different from the official version that PMG communicates. On the surface, PMG is a marketing agency. I believe that if you look deeper, we are actually a software company that pretends to be a marketing agency. And what I mean by that, as a marketing agency, we do what is expected from a marketing agency. We provide marketing services to our customers who are large brands, companies like Apple, McDonald's, Nike, many of the household names that you hear every day, they are our customers. And we are one of the most efficient marketing agencies. We offer one of the best returns on advertisement. And because of that, we are one of those rare companies who are growing amazingly fast without any outside investment. For example, when I started 2 years back with the company, we were 450 people. Right now, we're about 1,100 people. We basically more than doubled the size, as I said, with no outside investment. And it has always been like this. And as I said, we are one of the most efficient marketing agencies. That's why customers keep coming to us. But the secret sauce, the reason why we are so efficient is because, as I said, underneath, under the hood, we are a software company. We developed a suite of products that basically automate most of the workflows for marketing professionals. And we have a large team of more than 100, in fact, more than 120 already, engineers who are working on this suite of tools. And these tools, they exist under the umbrella term, the umbrella brand Ali. These tools make our marketing experts super efficient, one of the most efficient marketing experts in the industry, because they're using these tools. And as I said, I'm leading the engineering organization inside the company. I'm leading basically the team that creates this suite of tools called Ali.
No, it's interesting, and obviously, look, marketing is such an important industry, within companies, especially with the way the internet is and the way social media is. Branding is everything, and reaching the right market, your target market. So it's also awesome to see how the business has, as you say, over doubled in size, especially without any external funding. You see a lot of tech businesses, especially in the US, predominantly. I wouldn't be able to, pick a figure out. I wouldn't know the answer without making it up, but 75% or more, probably, I'd say businesses have outside funding that have grown to at least 1,000 people. So that's pretty impressive to see that you guys have done that. It's definitely something that you guys should be proud of for sure. I'll be keen to know. It's a pretty broad question, but talking about AI, it's obviously such a big topic. Everyone's talking about it. You obviously have the experts in the field, you have the people that are aware of it, like myself, but wouldn't be able to do anything hands-on, and then you have like the average consumer that doesn't really know what AI is. I'd love to sort of just know your take on AI. What is it? What's the benefits of it, and potentially what's the risk of it?
Oh, that's an amazing question to ask. Look, there are several different layers to this question or to the answers. Starting from the fundamentals, I don't think we should actually think about what exactly AI does. It's enough to know that it's a transformational technology, a technology that is going to change the entire industry, or maybe the whole set of industries. The same way as cloud computing became popular recently. And look, it was originally specifically Googled before our conversation. It became popularized in August 2006 when Google CEO Eric Schmidt introduced it on an industry conference. The term was used before, but in 2006 it was when it became widely used. And at that point of time, no one knew what was that, and everyone was kind of scared. Hey, how can I put my secure data into the cloud, right? It seemed like a crazy idea. No one expected that people would allow their data leave premises. And now it's the opposite. If you're talking to people saying, hey, I have my data center on premise, then they look at you like very strange guy, because in fact now it's more secure to host your data in the cloud versus doing it on premise, unless of course you have huge amount of admin and can afford to hire all those experts. And it happened within 15 years. The entire industry transformed. And this is not the first time when we are witnessing this kind of industrial transformations. Even the internet itself, when it was introduced, it was this kind of transformation. And it doesn't really matter how exactly it works, and doesn't really matter what it does. What matters is those transformations keep happening frequently, and they keep happening even as the time moves forward. They keep happening more and more often, more and more frequent. And introduction of AI is basically one of those transformations. And we don't really need to think about what is exactly there in order to understand that in terms of the consequences, it's already gigantic. It's going to be even bigger. It's going to change a lot of businesses. Now, if you're specifically thinking about the exact risks associated with this transformation, we can think about three different types of buckets. The first bucket is what everyone keeps talking about: privacy concerns, concerns related to the wrong answers that AI can give you, the hallucinations, etc. That's the first bucket. The second bucket is kind of doomsday scenario, the Skynet scenario. AI is going to take over the world, eliminate all the jobs in the best case, in the worst case, basically eliminate the entire humanity. Now, the third scenario, which people don't really talk as frequently as about the first two buckets. The third bucket is what I call the refrigerator scenario. And maybe we should deep dive here, because there is very, very interesting example that illustrates the point. And this example is called ice delivery industry. And it was exactly as it sounds. 170 years back, there were no refrigerators. People still needed ice in the United States, and there was hot climate in many states. So there was this entire industry where people were harvesting ice somewhere in the mountains, and then they were transporting that ice there was this entire infrastructure that would allow to transport ice without melting. And then there were in hot areas, there were those ice houses or ice warehouses where they could store ice for many months without melting. And at some point of time, it became international industry. They started creating artificial lakes in Norway, and they started manufacturing ice in those artificial lakes, and then started shipping the ice to the United States. Many other countries became involved. For God's sake, New Zealand, even from New Zealand, they were shipping ice to the United States. There was this huge industry, and a lot of people made a lot of money. 2% of the US population. 2% of the US population were involved into this industry. For comparison, if we are talking about software industry today, it's going to be about 1% of the US population who are involved into the software industry in the US. 170 years back, 2% of the US population were making money by working, of course, in different roles, in different companies, but working in this ice delivery industry. And then someone invented refrigerator, and the entire industry disappeared. For good, right? I mean, obviously, many people lost their jobs. The industry kind of still exists. I mean, you can still go to Safeway, buy like physical ice, and people do it. But it's tiny comparing to what it was 170 years back. And instead of all those jobs that disappeared, obviously, right now, there are many other jobs, and no one becomes sad of not being able to go to mountains and manufacture or harvest ice there in order to sell it somewhere later. So the transformational impact was huge, but it was a positive impact. However, for some reason, people don't talk about this risk of transforming the entire industries or even making some industries disappear, even though if we judge the future based on the past, this is the most probable outcome of the introduction of AI right now. I think this is the most significant risk if we treat risk as an event that may or may not happen, an event which is associated with some probability. So I think most of the companies, what they're missing is they need to look at this area, how their industries are going to be transformed. And of course, there are two other buckets. There is this group of risks associated with basically having bugs in AI. When AI hallucinates, it's a bug in conventional sense. If you're talking about software, it's okay to have bugs. People got used to it. If you're talking about AI, we are surprised that it hallucinates. If we are talking about privacy, they know that there are privacy issues with conventional software. People still are very scared about privacy issues related to AI. I think it's just a question of time. The same way as cloud became normal, became widely used, the same way AI is going to become more widely used, just faster, because every time there is a transformational technology, the transformation happens faster and faster and faster. And when it comes to the third bucket, the doomsday scenario, maybe Skynet is going to take over the world. But there are so many other ways how humanity can destroy ourselves, and they are way more probable. So yeah. I wouldn't bother even spending time thinking about risks associated with Skynet, at least not this decade.
Yeah, I know, I get that, and I think that's a good way to look at it. I'm keen to also discuss something with you. I can't name names, but I work with a client that is a very well-funded Series A business, and they said to me, the director of AI there, said that apart from the top-level staff engineers, PhDs at the top universities, sort of Ivy Leagues, apart from those top software engineers, he thinks AI within 5 years will make pretty much most software engineers' roles not necessary.
I wouldn't go that far, simply because even if you're talking about ice delivery industry, there is still this industry. You still can buy ice in Safeway, as I mentioned. But I would say that maybe at least 50%, maybe even 70% of traditional software engineers will become someone else. Yeah. Now, we don't know exactly what is that someone else. I keep telling my engineers in PMG that, hey guys, in a year, we are not going to have software engineers in our company anymore. We are going to have AI engineers. I'm not entirely sure what I mean by that, because everything is changing so fast. But it's clear that in a traditional, conventional sense, software engineering, as we know it, is not going to exist. Or it's not going to be as widely used as it is right now. It's happening already. People keep talking about using Copilot, right? Copilots are different tools, mostly popular right now in the software industry, when they kind of allow you to write software with them together.
Yeah.
And obviously there is Copilot from GitHub. There are other Copilots. There are different AI tools which are branded differently. And they obviously, for software engineers, they are very naturally inclined to try new technologies. And right now, I can't say that Copilots work as advertised, meaning they can't write software for you. They can't even write 50% of your software for you. You're still writing the software. They kind of helping, but they're not leading in this process. If we are thinking about kind of traditional pair programming, still is the human who is driving most of the software development.
Yeah.
However, significant part of work for software engineers is writing tests, writing unit tests, which is code that tests your code. And it takes as much time as it takes writing the main code. Sometimes it takes even more time. Why? Because writing tests is kind of boring, so people are kind of less enthusiastic doing that. Now, when it comes to writing unit tests, Copilots basically are doing 99% of the job already now.
They said as well.
So they already doubled the productivity of engineers. Of course, those who are using the Copilots. And of course, in a year or in 2 years, Copilots are going to become more efficient, and eventually they are going to be leading the process of developing software. So even now, half of the work is already eliminated by half of the software development work is already eliminated by Copilots. Over time, it's going to become larger and larger and larger. And Andrei Karpathy, the guy who was leading AI projects at Tesla at some point of time, he was also co-founder of OpenAI, and he is known for many other things. He's very, very visible in the AI industry. At some point of time, he coined this term software 2.0. And the point is, the idea is software 1.0 is the software when the algorithms are written by humans. And the software 2.0 is the software when the algorithms, the programs are written by computers based on the data provided by the humans. So maybe in the future, and we are talking about very near future, those software engineers, those who used to be software engineers and now become AI engineers, maybe most of their work is going to be just feeding the data, finding the data, preparing the data, feeding the data to the computers.
Think a lot of engineers might become like prompt engineers almost.
I think prompt engineering is just part of that. It's going to be bigger than that. But yes, the nature of engineering as we know it is changing, which is okay. Yeah. If you think about the term engineer 50 years back, it was not what we are thinking about engineers right now. So that's totally okay.
I really like the way that you sort of contextualize it. And, it is a very different example with the ICE scenario, but I actually have never heard that before, to be honest. And I can see how that relates and how, it's annoying for that industry, but in general, it's a much better situation for everyone. So I suppose that's maybe how we've got to look at it in the software front for sure. And so talking about obviously, PMG, you say you disguise yourself as a marketing business, but you're a software business. What is your approach to AI? Like, are you integrating AI within your products?
Oh, yeah, of course. First of all, just for the sake of clarity, I can't talk about PMG in general, but I can talk about the engineering organization inside PMG. Even though PMG in general is also very aggressively, very actively integrating AI, and we are on our path to becoming an AI-first organization. But I specifically want to talk about the engineering. And the way we are thinking about AI is basically based on risk analysis, as we already discussed at the beginning. There are two types of risks here. Risks that are associated with integrating AI or adapting AI too fast, and risks associated with adapting AI too slow. Now, the first group of risks associated with adapting AI too fast. This is everything that we just discussed: the privacy, the data leakage, the hallucinations, etc. The second group of risks are risks associated with competitors moving faster than us and offering better products, new workflows being introduced supported by AI, etc., etc. So we concluded that the first group of risks associated with integrating AI too fast, the conventional revenue impacting risks. The second group of risks of integrating AI too slow, they're existential. It's basically us existing or not existing in a few years, because it's clear that AI is going to change the marketing industry, AI is going to change the software industry, and we are right at the intersection. And because we are talking about the existential threat here and the existential risks, we decided to move forward as fast as possible. And the way we are doing it on two layers. We're thinking about what we need to do today, and we are thinking about what we need to do tomorrow. Today, it's about changing the existing, it's about accelerating the existing workflows. Just we use our existing software, just we make it possible to go through those workflows faster, cheaper, better, because an AI enables that. And in order to do it, of course, we are talking about upskilling our engineers, about hiring AI experts, about changing the org chart to support this AI transition. So this is what we're doing today: upskilling the team, changing the team, and improving, accelerating existing workflows that are supported by our software. Now, if you're thinking about tomorrow, we need first of all to think about what kind of changes are AI-related changes are going to happen to our users, to our customers. And their workflows are going to be completely different. It's not about existing workflows just cheaper and faster. It's about something that we never thought about. It's about totally different approach that they're going to take to their tasks. And I hope we'll have a chance to spend more time talking about it later. So how do we support those future workflows, which were basically impossible before AI? How do we support them knowing that the behavior of our users is going to change? And that leads us to the second component of tomorrow, which is how we are thinking and how we are getting ready to the change in business models. Because some stuff which was super expensive yesterday is going to become available for free for everyone tomorrow. So the way people are making money in the marketing industry is going to change. How are we getting ready to this? So basically, these are two layers, today and tomorrow. Today is about upskilling the team, getting ready to AI revolution, and optimizing existing workflows with AI. And tomorrow is about thinking how AI is going to impact our users, thinking about what kind of workflows they're going to need in the future, getting ready to deliver those workflows, and thinking about how it's going to impact our business models.
Yeah, I get that. And how do you see AI influencing these like traditional business models? What's going to be the change? And from a B2B and a B2C perspective, like how is that going to change through AI?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, no one knows how exactly it's going to change, right? But there are different ideas which are widely discussed. Let's start with the basics. It's clear that AI is going to make some of the workflows faster, cheaper, better. Something, for example, video production for advertisement. It took half a year to develop a video. It took a few $1 million, literally last year. In a year from now, it's going to be done by a high school kid who spends $100 for some kind of subscription on the internet, and who creates that video in half an hour or maybe in an hour. So a lot of expensive stuff is going to become cheap stuff. A lot of time-consuming stuff is going to become very fast stuff. So a lot of things which in the past were required kind of white glove approach will switch to kind of self-serve mode, because it made sense to have this kind of B2B type of relationship in the past when you had account managers, etc., if you were talking about multi-million contracts. But now if you are talking about something which costs $100, no one is going to have an account manager here, right? So a lot of stuff is going to switch from traditional kind of enterprise white glove delivery model to basically self-serve model, which is again, industry went through this transformation several times already, but still there are many challenges here. That's number one. Number two, for some of the customers, the trend is probably going to be the opposite. For some of the customers, for super large customers, they would still demand white glove approach. because they're large, they have those huge projects. And then this personal relationship, this connection with the customer is actually going to become a differentiator for those vendors who would survive this downshift from large to kind of self-serve small models. This is kind of obvious thinking, right? We know that if something becomes cheaper and faster, it's a logical way to think about it. But there are more interesting transformations. For example, significant amount of investment that goes in Silicon Valley right now to new startups in the AI field, that money goes to the startups that develop agent-based technologies. An agent is a tool that, or a piece of software that acts on behalf of a human. Basically, the thesis here is that in the future, in the very near future, in a couple of years from now, people will be delegating many of their tasks to the agents, and those agents will be doing those tasks for them. Now, I can't think how I can delegate to an AI agent a task of choosing my next home for me. I'll probably go into buy my house myself, right? However, I can easily see how I will ask AI to buy an insurance for me.
Mm.
I'll just give a list of criteria. I'll say, hey, this is my budget. Now find everything that meets that criteria and find the cheapest option from that list and just go on and purchase. And probably I am not going even to know the name of the insurance provider that AI chose for me. Now, what does it mean? It means that the humans are not going to be involved into actual purchasing decisions anymore, at least in some workflows, at least in some scenarios. If humans are not involved into purchasing decisions, how the vendors are going to market to those humans?
You know what? That's a good question. Do you think the agents will go that far to be purchased?
Absolutely. Now, the question is what kind of purchasing decisions we're talking about, right? As I said, probably for most of people, buying house is not going to be that type of decision. But for sure, there will be at least some amount of decisions where AI agents are going to be involved. How fast are we going to get there? What is going to be the most widely used type of scenarios? We don't know yet. But if you trust that VCs know what they're doing when they're pouring money into those agent startups, then we should assume that at least some reasonable probability that this this agent world is coming. Now, John, coming back to the business models that you mentioned, what does it mean? It means that even those who were selling to consumers, basically traditional B2C model, now they're switching to this kind of advanced B2B2C model. So they're still providing a product to consumers, but they need to keep an agent in mind. So they need to create functionality that will also make it more easy for agents to choose them, while also creating a product that is going to deliver the value to the end users. So the business models are going to become more complicated, provided that this agent-based future is coming, which it's a hypothesis, right? We don't know, but it makes sense to consider and get ready to this change.
Yeah, and to be fair, we actually partner with one of these agent companies. You know, the Silicon Valley funded, over 100 million in funding. So they're getting a lot of money. I'm intrigued to know. I mean, I don't know how aware you are of the agent system, the AI agent world that's potentially coming, as you say. How does it work if for someone? I have a brief understanding of AI. Obviously, I work with AI companies, but obviously, if you asked me to do any form of coding or whatever with an AI, I wouldn't be able to touch a thing. If you was to pick my mum, for example, who has no idea about technology, how would you explain that this world is coming to someone? Like, and what is it? Is it just is it like Jarvis from Iron Man? Do you speak to someone? Is it just something on your phone? Like, you say that something has purchasing power, but what am I texting it?
I would assume that your mom probably is using or at least aware of Alexa.
Yes, correct.
So Alexa is already connected to your Amazon account. Your credit cards are already in the Amazon account. You just tell, hey, Alexa, pick a notebook for me. I want a notebook. And it already knows your preferences. It already knows in the past how you were making those purchasing decisions. And it just goes and buys it, and that's it. It's like personal secretary. I mean,
Mm.
people used to have secretary or executive assistants or whatever sitting next door to them. Then it became kind of outsourced jobs, so you don't really know your assistant when you're working with one of those companies who are offering you a virtual assistant. So the switch from human somewhere on the other side of the phone line or of the screen, the switch from a human to a computer to an AI, it could happen seamlessly. You may not even know about it. In fact, it's already happening. Think about all those dating sites where you go and you start engaging with many of the beautiful women with whom you want to chat. And the monetization model, basically, you start sending them virtual gifts or you start buying subscriptions. How do you even know they're real? How do you
Yeah,
know they're not chatbots?
yeah, that's true. But
And even if you're having a video call, at least right now, it's not super easy to imagine, but in half a year, the technology is going to be there. Even the video calls with them are going to look like a video call with a normal person. While reality is, it could be completely virtual world for that would basically allow them to the dating site to simply extract more money from you.
yeah, well, that's like the Ashley Madison dating site, which obviously I don't know if you know about it. Ripped through the US a couple of years ago. It was a dating app for married people. I think they made like $400 million in 2 years, and it turns out it was all just people, all just men working for the company, just pretending to be people.
Exactly the
So,
same scenario. Now it's very easy to replace those men with just AI.
intelligence, yeah, that's
Faster,
interesting.
cheaper,
Yeah,
better.
yeah, I get it. Yeah, makes sense. And so again, kind of spinning off of what I said about my mom who's not very tech savvy and wouldn't really understand it. So if you look at a company that's not a Silicon Valley startup that's being funded just for AI purposes, if you look at a traditional, maybe an old-fashioned business or just a business that isn't in that space, what would be your advice for them embarking on their AI journey? Like, what would your first steps be? Like, more to teach the team before just going heads first, or how would you, if you were to join a business now that they weren't really aware of what the powers are, how would you do it?
Well, the problem is you can't make decisions about something you don't know, right? And the speed of change, the speed of innovation is so fast here that there is no way that most of the traditional businesses have expertise in AI. So the step number one, regardless of whether those companies believe or not believe into AI, the step number one is just to establish the expertise center, just make several people responsible to accumulate knowledge, track what is happening in the industry, and make sure that they are taking care of at least upskilling some of the people in the company. Why? To equip the company to be able to make informed decisions. So this is obviously, in my opinion, step number one. Now we can discuss how much to invest into this team and how many people should be upskilled in addition to this core team, etc., etc. But there should be this core expertise center in the company to help the company to make educated decisions. Now, step number two is to establish their own framework, how they're going to reason about AI and the impact of AI on their company, in their industry, in their business. As I mentioned, in our case, our thinking, hey, it's going to be an existential risk for us. Either we move way faster than the entire industry, or we may basically cease to exist in several years.
Yeah.
This is our thinking, right? It's specific to our business, it's specific to our industry, it's specific to the reality that we face. And our reality, as I mentioned, we are actually a tech company that behaves as a marketing agency. Every company is different, right? But it's important to make sure that you consider all the aspects specifically for your business. So develop this mental framework. And number three, once you have this mental framework, once you figure out how to make what is the structure that helps you to make decisions about AI, then basically develop your AI strategy and start executing. And for some, it may be very defensive AI strategy. Maybe it's just about minimizing harm that AI can bring to you. I can easily think of at least several different cases when the biggest effort should be just to make sure to protect yourself from AI. Like, for example, if you're a company that are delivering testing services, you're testing knowledge of applicants, right? You need to make sure that you're actually testing real humans who are connecting to you remotely and who are going through your tests. And you make there are so many different ways how they can use AI to help them to pass the tests. So there are areas where it's just about defending yourself from AI. There are areas where it's about completely changing your business model, because if you don't change this model, you're going to disappear, maybe even faster than in 5 years, maybe in 2 years. I mean, we already saw examples like this in the past. Think about how fast yellow cabs disappeared after Uber started delivering their services.
I saw an interesting thing about Uber maybe a year ago or so. I don't know how true it is. I believe it was true. I just didn't research into it at the time. I didn't fact check it. But I saw that for the first 7 years that they weren't profitable. That they were making a loss. They were getting funding. Then it got past that. They then had debt financing rounds, which is obviously essentially funding, to get to the point to take over the market from the yellow cab and in the UK, the black cab market. To get to the point where every customer much prefers just being able to, call a cab from their phone, and then started to put their prices up. And I believe last year was their first ever profitable fiscal year or something like that, or maybe the last 2 years. But when you think about how long Uber's been around for, that's a pretty crazy fact.
Yes, and I don't know the numbers, but this story totally doesn't surprise me. I mean, if you think about Amazon, they actually went through exactly the same trajectory, right? Even when they were a public company, they were still criticized by shareholders that, hey, you are not really making profit. And Jeff Bezos was always saying that, hey, we are thinking long term. Yes, it's one of the ways how this future becomes closer faster, because the companies are not thinking about making profit today, because they realize they can make way larger profit tomorrow. And there are different ways how to do it, either to raise a lot of money from VCs, which is the Uber way, or just to reinvest all your profit to new technologies, which is the Amazon way, one way or another. But it's simply a way of accelerating this innovation cycle, which totally makes sense to me.
There's a lot, and to be fair, I could sit here for another 2 hours and keep talking to you. There's so many topics that just also spiral into new topics as well, and I think it's really important. But as I said, sort of looping back to what I said at the start of the call, and for the viewers watching that don't know Vlad well, obviously, as I say, he does host meetups and AI meetups with other leaders in the market, whether these are VPs, SVPs, CTOs, even some CEOs from some big West Coast, sort of Silicon Valley companies.
It's not only West Coast. We host meetups in 3 different cities. We do meetups in Dallas, in Austin, and in Mountain View. Now, in Austin and Dallas, we organize them. It's already a process which we started back in December last year. We do them on a monthly basis. These are traditional meetups for engineers, when they come and they learn new knowledge and they listen to the speakers. In Silicon Valley, so far, we only did one event, and it's a different type of event. It's only for leaders, and it's more about for people who are at least director level, or if we are talking about individual contributor, at least staff engineer level. And we invite them mostly to collaborate with each other, to learn from each other. It's a different type of event. And the Silicon Valley event, so far, we did only one. Hopefully, we are going to do more. In Dallas and Austin, we already do it on a regular basis every month. And all of those events seem to be very, very successful, very, very demanded. Just an example, when we did the Silicon Valley event, so think about it. We had about more than 50 vice presidents and directors from major companies, from Microsoft's and Google's and IBM's of the world. We only marketed it for 4 days. And then we realized, hey, there is no more capacity in the room, and we stopped marketing it.
Yeah, of course. And that's what I mean. And I think that's part of what this Beyond the Model is as well. We were very successful in our renewable energy space with our Take Charge community. And obviously, I lead in the tech and AI space, and so do my team, which for you guys watching, you can see in the announcement posts on our LinkedIn page. But we work with so many fascinating businesses and leaders, and there's so many other companies we want to work with. And we just want to get people together. So, your next one, I'd love to attend. I know
Absolutely,
I'm not,
absolutely.
but I'd love to be there. Obviously, we're going to be hosting roundtables in person as well. People like yourself and other leaders, we can have some quick fire discussions, some debates, and I think it's really cool. And I think raising awareness for people that aren't in the tech and the AI world, but even for the people that are there, about how to sort of evolve and move along with the times, keep up to date with what's going on. So that's the main target is the people already in the market like yourself. But I also think it's really good. I hope we can capture a market that aren't aware of what's going on and they can sort of get involved.
Well, I think at this point everyone is thinking about AI, but simultaneously it's very hard to find someone who knows everything about AI, because every week, every day, every hour, in fact, every minute, there is something new happening. It is growing so fast, and it's becoming larger and larger and larger. So it's just amazing transformation simply to watch and to observe. Especially if you're not just watching and observing, but if you're actually part of this transformation.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Well, look, it's been a pleasure. I don't know if you have any other questions you'd be keen to discuss, or we can hold it up for the next one.
Let's do the next one. It's been great fun. Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Sounds good. You're very welcome. It's been a real pleasure, and I look forward to catching up soon. And for everyone else, I appreciate you watching. And see you guys soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.